Vishnu Saravanan, otherwise known as India's sailing hopes, is a young sailor from Vellore. He competes in the men's one-person dinghy or laser standard category. He started winning multiple medals at the junior national level and even became a youth national champion. Collecting countless silverware along the way, he qualified for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics and finished 20th out of 35. 3 years later, he won a bronze medal at the Asian Games and claimed a spot at the recently concluded Palace Olympics. Already having a lifetime worth of accolades to his name, his journey is far from done. Vishnu, thank you for being here and welcome to the show. So Vishnu, there are many questions I'd like to ask you, but to begin with, because it's rare to have a double Olympian on our show, what was your whole experience of the Paris Olympics like? Tell us more about it, please.
Well, definitely compared to Tokyo Olympics, it was much more different because in Tokyo we were going through pandemic and COVID was happening, so it definitely was much harder because every day we had to do a spit test and everything.
Right.
So, and also we didn't really get the experience of what Olympic was. It was my first Olympics. So when we entered to like the opening ceremony, we saw nobody there, the stadium was empty and everything. So definitely Paris Olympics, the opening ceremony and everything, it really gave us the feel about the whole aura about the Olympics. So that was quite special. And we saw some great athletes, from all sizes and shapes. So it was quite interesting to see that as well. And especially in sailing, because we are away from the main village. So we don't really see other athletes. It's more like we only see our own sailing athletes who are from different countries.
Correct.
So it's just like we all put our own uniforms, like India or Croatia or whatever, and then it's just like a big show. But anyways, the main Olympics is more in like it's way more fun. Like Paris was fun because it was in Europe, so I trained in Europe for a long time.
Okay.
So it was quite nice. So that was like the base, and I spent in Marseille about 3 months.
Okay.
So it was like my home, and where I was staying in the Airbnb, everybody around me, like the neighbors, they knew me and they were bringing local French food every day.
Wow.
And it was more like I became a part of the society.
Part of the community.
Yeah, exactly. So that was quite nice about this Olympics, because I think mostly because of the pandemic. Coming out of that, like also the experience, because I've done Tokyo, it was good. Like I was carefree, and in Tokyo, like I didn't really put any pressure on myself, and also I kind of like pressure, so it was quite fun to just go and just do it. But Paris, I trained really hard, and I was really focused on physical and mental preparation, so it was pretty good. And then the Olympics happened, but the conditions were not so great. We only got about 8 races out of 11. So anyway, so it is what it is. But it was quite fun to learn how to anticipate and just have that quick mentality, and also never give up kind of things.
Sure.
So I learned many things, of course, and then also I came up with good experiences, with that.
Fantastic. So you mentioned that you weren't staying in the games village.
Yeah.
So all the sailors are housed elsewhere.
Yeah. So what happens is we in Paris there's only like North Sea,
Okay.
where it's very tidal and it can be very cold and unpredictable. So we sailed in the Mediterranean Sea, so which is of course much nicer, blue, and it's Mediterranean, so it's really nice to sail, and it's much warmer as well compared to Paris. So we were based in Marseille, which is a 4-hour journey from
Okay.
in a bullet train, of course.
Right.
A car would take about 11 hours, but so we stayed there in Marseille, and then we trained there about 3 months. So it was quite nice, and we were staying in a hotel. So hotel was converted into a village,
Okay.
a sailing village. So all the sailors, it was exactly like the Olympics, but just we were in a different spot completely. So
But you were part of the opening ceremony, though.
yes, yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about what you felt when your country's name is called out and you get to walk out onto that stadium.
Well, first of all, there was no stadium at this
okay.
time
Okay.
because it was more. It was on the ferry.
Oh, it was on the river,
Yeah,
right?
So
right.
it was even better, I think, because it was something different, and that river is pretty historic and quite nice to get the tour on that river. And we had a great team. Like Indian contingent was like really nice, and all the athletes were amazing. So we had especially Gagan Narang as our chef de
Yes.
mission, and then Shiv Keshavan. So we were all like quite enjoying that time, and just being in that present moment, and having fun, like we were laughing, and we were like non-stop motivating each other during that river ride, and we wanted to compete with other ferry, like other countries, like we wanted to make more noise, so we were like singing all the Indian songs, and it was quite fun, and the overall experience was quite nice as well. Met some like really amazing athletes like LeBron James and all these, so like completely different. So
Absolutely. And what would be your biggest learning from Paris?
um, try to like believe in yourself more, because you've got the capacity to do it. Because I think many athletes, we get under pressure in some sort of way, even though we might tell ourselves we are not, in pressure, we don't feel pressure.
We're human
but
beings at the end
yeah,
of the day.
exactly.
Yes.
And at the same time, you have to tell your brain as well, like even the guys who are winning, they also feel pressure,
Sure.
because even if they're winning gold medal every event, they have a lot more pressure than you, because you've never won a medal.
Absolutely.
So you have to convince your brain, and you have to convince your mind. It's at some point it's just a mental game. So I think that part was quite important. And I'm mentally, I'd say, like, also my psychologists say that I'm quite strong, but it's just the experience that I lack. And so these kind of situations, they help me grow as a person, and give me more perspective of how to approach the event and how to deal with some situations that I've never dealt with.
So Vishnu, your journey began at a very young age in Mumbai with sailing. So tell us a little bit more about your early days. Who introduced you to the sport?
So my main anchor would be my dad,
Okay.
my father Saravanan. So he's a sailor himself. He loves sports first of all. So he joined the army just for being in sport and to be able to participate. And his goal was to represent India in world stage and everything. So he joined rowing. So that was his first sport. So rowing, he achieved I think 3 national medals, and he did go to Asian Championships, and then he changed the sport to sailing later on in early 2000s, and then he worked on, I think he was an active player until 2011. So that's when he retired because he wanted to support us. So I started sailing around 2009 July, so in Mumbai itself, in Kolaba, Army Yachting Node, because he was a part of army, and I was his kid, so I was able to start sailing. And when you're sailing at such a young age, there's a boat called Optimist, which is basically a bathtub. So it's just a bathtub with a flag or a sail, we call it. So that's for the kids under 16. So that's how I learned sailing, in that boat. And he was coming out every day on water, coaching me, helping me. And then luckily, straight away when I got into that boat, I had this connection, and I loved the sea and water and the wind. So it was quite a nice feeling, and I just loved competition. I didn't know that I liked competition until now, recently. So it was really nice to just go and be able to compete. And just 6 days after I started sailing, I had the national championships. So I finished 14th out of 50, so which was quite impressive
6
for
days of training.
just in 6 days. So that's when my dad told me, like, you have potential, so you can keep going, keep at it, and maybe you can win a national medal at some point. So when he said national medal, I straight away targeted, like, okay, I want to win a national medal. So, and I want to be very young to do it. So I trained for it, and then I went sailing every day after school, Army Public School. That's where I studied. So it was quite opposite to where Army Yachting Node. So it's like a 2-minute bike ride. So everywhere I go, I just cycled everywhere. So I go to the school, I finish school at 1:50, I straight away go to sailing, and I don't even eat lunch sometimes. I just rig my boat, takes about 15 minutes, and then I'm on the water for 3 hours, and then after that I go play football, because at that time I really loved football, and I still do, but I just can't play so much. So yeah, every day this was my routine for about 2 years, and then I finished fourth in 2010. That's where uh, I got selected in uh, national camp, and then I was able to go to the World Championships that was held in Malaysia. So with the much older uh, athletes, sailors. So I got to learn with going alone with these kind of, I at that time those were my legends. I was looking up to them, and they were teaching me how to do many things, and it started early, so that's I'm grateful for, because these days I don't think like many kids are able to go alone anywhere, and of course 14 is the minimum age I think to travel anywhere abroad, and I traveled to Italy when I was 12. So all by
Wow.
myself, like just with a matrix phone. So that, like looking back, I think I had a very good lifestyle. I still do. So I'm very grateful for my dad, who's been the founder and the backbone. So he's been a real motivator, and also my sister. She's also into sailing, and she's sailing probably right now. So
Oh,
yeah.
she's at practice right
Yeah,
now. So
right
you're
now.
taking a day off.
Yes,
Thanks
yeah.
to all of us.
Yeah, no. It's actually nice because the sun is pretty
Harsh.
brutal here.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Tell me about you say your dad has been, clearly the driving force behind
Yeah.
the inception of your whole world of
Yeah.
sailing. Apart from your dad,
Yeah.
did you also have at a young age any role models or mentors that or people who inspired you to? Of course, you've taken up the sport,
Yeah.
but to try and get better at it quickly.
Yeah. Well, definitely. Because at that time, as I say, like I was sailing and competing against some of the very good athletes who actually went to the Tokyo Olympics with me. K.C. Ganapati
Okay.
at that time. So he was my boat champion, Optimus champion. So I wanted to, all my drive was to just beat him. I want to beat him as soon as possible before he turns 16. Because if he turns 16, then he has to leave the boat, and then I can't say that I beat him in a championship. So I wanted to beat him, and luckily I did beat him in 2011 Opti National Championships, and that's where I won my first title.
Okay.
So that was quite a moment where these guys, they teach me so much. At the same time, there is a possibility of beating
Competing
them.
and beating them.
So that's where I learned competition at the very early age.
Right.
And that's like these. There's so many people who I look up to. I'm kind of like a sponge. I like just soak in information and use that. And I have very good photographic memory, so I can copy style. That's why I learned sailing very quickly, or any sport that I do very quickly. Maybe now it's a bit rusty, but I still can learn many things very quickly. So knowing about yourself is very important, and I think in sport it's very important. So I always wanted to know like what I'm good at, what I'm bad at. So I want to become better what I'm bad at.
And was your dad a harsh teacher? Was he a laid back teacher? I'm sure he did coach you for quite a bit.
Yes, you can see him like he's still very strong. So it took me about 6 years to beat him in a 5-kilometer race, and I was pretty good at long distance racing in school. So I trained from 12 when I was 12 years old till 14. That's when I couldn't beat him like for so long. So it kind of frustrated me. So it's just not in that sport. So he taught me in a very soft way, but at the same time in a very harsh manner. But he is kind of more like a facilitator. He like takes out so much time of his to just spend and give the opportunity to us, not only myself and Ramya, my sister, to so many other kids who have been asking for guidance from others and where they have not been receiving. So he's a social worker. So I'm just one of his byproduct, So like there's many kids who have been motivated to take up sailing and to achieve. And even if you speak with him, so he'll be just having positive advice and positive vibes, as we say,
I
coming
think
out of him.
it's so important to have, at an early stage, the importance of mentors, role models is
Yes.
huge. Also giving you advice, not in just terms of winning or technical expertise, but a perspective or an outlook on life that is beyond putting a trophy on your wall. And I think that shines through your, when you use words like, I love to be out on the water. I love the wind and I love, my conditions. Sometimes I didn't even have lunch. You said you skipped, like a little boy would, go down to play. You went out onto the ocean.
Exactly.
That is refreshing to see that. And I'm sure even now, I asked you about the Olympics, but you told me so much about what happened around the Olympics for you and not just about your races. So I think that has stayed with you. And that's the reason, one of the reasons why you are who you are. And all credit to your father for what he's done, for you, for your sister, and whole sailing fraternity, if I may say so. So just like Moha, nature's perfect formula, we have an athlete here. We are talking to Vishnu, who has a perfect blend of both physical strength, mental maturity. As you can see, very, very humble, down to earth, super grounded, and still believes he has the ability to conquer the world. But you cannot conquer the world unless your preparation is as big as your goals and your dreams are. So before we get to what you're doing today in terms of preparation, when you started, tell me a little bit about your early training days. How was that like, and how would you say you've transitioned, or how has your training gotten more intense or transitioned to what you do today when you go out on the water to practice?
Early mornings are the best because you get to see the sunrise and get a bit of vitamin C or D, I don't know. Oh, yeah, D, sorry. So get a bit of vitamin D and then start training from there, like gym sessions at the beginning, and then after that we do sailing, whatever, and according to the coach's ideas. And if I'm in Mumbai, I mostly sail here in the afternoons, depending. December, January, I train early mornings. So the techniques and the skills are different because in Mumbai it's much hotter than in Europe or anywhere else, more humid, and I sweat a lot. So the water loss is much heavier. So you need to drink a lot of water. Like I burn about 3,000 calories just on water sessions
in one training session.
In one training session, and the heart rate's pretty high. Like from TV, it looks like we're just sitting, so.
Like you're just sailing.
Yeah, just sailing, like champagne sailing, as they say. In James Bond, you just see, he's just going, drinking champagne and just sitting. That's not exactly how it works, but that's the idea of what people think it is. But Olympic sailing is much more different.
What does your typical diet look like to, make up for those 3,000 calories?
You don't want to know. Yeah, I eat way too much, but also I don't look like I eat way too much. But my mother, she's tired of cooking. In Mumbai, when I'm here in Mumbai, she's tired of cooking. So I eat like at home and also at the army base.
Right.
So I was like,
so two breakfasts, 2 lunches, 2 dinners.
Yes, exactly. So
that's pretty much sounds like a swimmer's diet. It's just that your water is more choppy than mine. But we're eating a lot through the day.
Yes, you guys burn so much. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
Well, like swimmers have the best physique, like to watch. Also, it's quite nice. Now everybody with the 8 packs and
I can't really spot 8 packs anymore, but at one point.
When you have an Indian diet, it's very hard to get 8 packs. I can.
And I wasn't training in Italy, or Paris. So Vishnu, you said that this is recent past is the longest time you've got to spend with your family, 3 months. So would you call this a typical off season?
A typical off season is a push, but yes, because Tokyo Olympics, because of the pandemic, it was pushed down a year. So there was not much time after the Olympics to take a year off or take 3 months off. So normally what other sailors would do or other athletes would do, they'll take a long break because it's such a hard program to just follow for so long, for 3 years or 4 years. So after Tokyo, everybody kind of got back straight away because it was only 3 years and you have to qualify and do everything again. So it's not much time. So now after Paris, we got some time off. So I took this time off, like 3 months, and just spent time with my family. Went to South. Haven't seen my grandparents in like 6 years, so went and saw them. Cousins all grown up. Last time I saw my cousin who didn't have anything and he was this short, and now I saw him, he's like having beard and he's like as tall as me. So it's quite a change.
Quite a big change.
Yeah.
And do you train now next year, or do you go abroad to continue your training?
So I'll go to Valencia soon because that's where my coach is. He's from Croatia, but he lives in Valencia.
Okay.
So, and that's where the training group is going to be. So I'll be training in Valencia, and then for a month just to get back on the board. The little bit rusty, so want to kick in, and then go to China in December for Asian Sailing Championship. I want to kind of perform in Asian level right now, so I dominate the Asian ranking, and then just to build that confidence and then keep it going. Then later on I come back in April. We have the season starts. Let's say
when you say season, you mean
like
season in
World Cup.
In the World Cup, okay.
Yeah. So in Europe, most of the events are in Europe except the World Championships. That's going to be held in China again.
Okay.
In Beijing. So that's in May. So yeah, so it's a long.
This is almost like the start of your new racing season,
exactly,
which begins in Spain.
Normally, a typical season would be like this would be the off season where we would be training. November, December, January, February would be winter training, and then from March we'll be on the road, going to Palma, Spain, and then to Hyères, France, and then to Germany, and then
I can see why your friends are all envious of your lifestyle. On the face of it, looks like you're literally a world traveler, and you're getting to see so many beautiful parts of the world. Of course, training is intense, 3,000 calories at a time. So my next question is, when you combine a passion and a joy for what you do with the talent that you have innately, you create a champion, that you take that champion at a young age to your first national championship. Tell me a little bit more about that national championship, if you can recollect how you felt, because today you're about you lose confidence, but I'm sure when a young athlete watches this, he's going to want to relate to what you have to say. And young athletes, when they're doing something for the first time, they feel like amateurs because they are amateurs, and they feel a lot of anxiety. So what did you go through? What did you feel at your first national championship?
Well, my first national medal was in 2011 in Kochi Cherai Beach. So it was quite a very good event and also very good venue. It was such a nice beach along the coastline, and then my family was there, my mom was there making coconut drinks, So it was quite like a family trip, and it was quite fun. And then, of course, the event, the championship itself was quite hard because of the winds. The wind was pretty high most of the time. And then, of course, it plays a good role for experienced sailors who are much better in high winds. They maneuver the boat much better. They're more experienced and tactically. So it helps them. And then I just kind of learned, and I was a sore thumb to them, like I'm always in front of them. At the same time, I didn't really think about pressure or anxiety at that time, or maybe I didn't know at that time what it was. You feel a bit of like nervousness, your palms are sweaty but at the same time you're on water, so you don't really feel anything. So it's mostly in your head. And I learned it at a very young age again. Like I just wanted to sail and I wanted to beat them. So that's all I did. Like that was my goal and that was my motivation. So just to beat them. And that kind of just put aside like everything else and just be in the present. Go accordingly with every wave and every wind shift, I say. So those things, just to be present, just kills everything else around, like future, past tense, and just live the moment.
So you're 11 at your first national championship, and you're talking like you felt like a seasoned campaigner already. Yeah. Credit should be given to your preparation, I think, up to that point, to your coach and your your dad for getting you to be so mentally strong. You talk about at the age of 11 having so much confidence that you didn't really feel pressure, or mental strength that you didn't really feel pressure. You're speaking of your process through that event and focusing on that rather than on anything else that was negative. And clearly national championships didn't shake you. because of your preparation up to that point. So I have to dig deeper now, and I want to ask you, what did shake you? Was there a particular international tournament that you went into feeling anxiety, nervousness, or fear of expectations from yourself or your family or your coaches?
Yes, there was this Asian Games that I've been sailing already for 15 years, and my goal at that young age, also now, my goal is to go to Asian Games and win a gold medal. And in 2010, I was too young to go to Asian Games in China. And 2014, my sister went to the Asian Games, and I couldn't go because of political reasons. And then into 2018 was the one which hit me really hard. 2018, I won all the national championships, everything, and then I had to go to Asian Sailing Championship in Indonesia. That's where the Asian Games was, and then I had to finish in top 6 country-wise, and I couldn't finish because I had a food poisoning there. And every time I was sailing, I was just throwing up, so it was not a great scene.
Not a great thing, yes.
And I still didn't give up. I finished all the races, but at the same time, I didn't finish where I was supposed to finish. So that put me in a bad, let's say, demotivated kind of mood. And then I came back and I saw my other teammates winning medal and performing well and going to Asian Games. That kind of put me and lit a fire in me, and next time, then that's when I put Asian Games 2022 in China, gold medal for sure. And so I worked for it every day. When they were racing in Jakarta Asian Games, I was preparing myself here, working hard. So that kind of, in the long term, it helped me. And then it was really scary when they pushed a year later the China Asian Games because of COVID pandemic. I was like, don't get cancelled, please don't get cancelled.
Yeah.
And I really want to kick ass in this event. So I don't know if I can say that, but it's sorry.
No,
anyway, so I really wanted to show my ability there, and I was not really bothered about getting a medal because I know that I would get a medal. I just wanted to win that Olympic Asian Games gold medal. It always comes Olympic right now. So Asian Games gold medal.
It's a good habit to have.
Yeah. So I was still up there, but it's just due to some weather reasons and then of course my own mistakes. I ended up with the bronze medal with almost just touching that gold. And these things are good motivation for myself, as Michael Jordan creates his own things to motivate himself. So I get it for free, so might as well take this as motivation and just keep going.
I don't think it's I think you're in a good spot if you say I just ended up with the Asian Games bronze medal. You clearly have lofty goals. Tell me a little bit more about your relationship with your father, because he's also not your father, he's your coach.
Yeah.
Today I teach, I mentor athletes, and I see a huge range of emotions coming from parents. Most athletes' parents today are very hands-on in terms of what they do, from giving their kids water to making sure their nutrition is on point, to their training, to their coaches. As a result, I feel like the more the investment of effort of a parent into an athlete's life, the more they feel like they have to have a say, an opinion. They have to keep pushing and pushing the athlete up to a point, though.
Yeah.
When it gets beyond that, it gets overwhelming for the athlete. So do you have that connect or relationship with your father, where you can there is a proper balance struck?
Yeah, I understand, because sometimes parents can be overwhelming.
Yes.
And they can put a lot of pressure on you, and that can break someone's mindset. And that's very normal at the same time. But also parents, they just want you to be good in what you do.
Correct.
So if you look at in that way, then they just want you to do well in your life, or they want you to succeed because they want themselves to be proud of what they've created.
Right.
So in many ways, we go against it because it's the age, we say. When we are teenagers, we're always against our parents' will. Like myself, I was always playing sports, but I never wanted to at that point, I wanted to choose a particular sport.
Correct.
That, I want to.
This is what I want to focus on.
I always liked to play multiple sports. Like I was in football, I was in athletics, I was even throwing javelin at some point. So, I just didn't want to choose. Like at that time, I just wanted to enjoy being able to do all these sports, because those kind of sense of competition and sense of like learning something new. But at the same time, it was good that he told me to like choose one sport, because that's what's gonna give you bread and butter.
Correct.
So, and I took a good advice, and I listened to my dad. I think that's a very important thing to do.
It's rare to find that sort of emotional maturity, where you can look at it from your parents' perspective and say, well, they may be a little overwhelming at times, but they're dreaming for you because they care for you very much. And in the moment when it gets, a heated argument, or you feel like the pressure is too much, to have that perspective is very good, because I've seen some athletes who can't handle pressure from parents and their lofty expectations. Clearly you've managed to channelize all that in the right way. So in terms of your training, you're out on the water so much, it takes a toll on your body, right? There's a physical toll, and then there's a mental toll. We'll get to mental a little later, but in terms of physical toll, there are also, I'm guessing, dangers around that you do fear, or you have to take care of. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, well, if you're asking about animals, then yes, definitely, like just like few days earlier, later, my friend got, he said bit, but I'm 100% sure he didn't get bit by a fish, because there's no fish in Mumbai that bites you. So that it's one of those flying fish where it just is flying so quick that even if it touches you, you kind of get hurt.
It gets crazy, yes.
So that's what happened to him, and he was so scared of it. Just like.
And what about bigger animals out in the ocean?
Oof. Crocodiles. In Mexico, I was very scared of crocodiles, because there was a board saying beware of crocodiles on slipway.
And you'll still choose to go out onto the water?
It was the World Championships, we have to. There was no other option. So I had no choice, and we just prayed every time. We did see crocodiles, like it was like 6 meters away. It's like huge 6-meter crocodile. But then I kind of get used to it. Again, in Australia, everybody knows everything there is dangerous.
Sharks. How do you get used to crocodiles?
I don't know. I just don't bother it. Just be.
No wonder you're not overwhelmed by competition pressure, because you've got the pressure.
Yes, exactly. I'm actually distracted by so many other life-threatening situations.
Sailing is a lonely sport, right? It's just you and your mind, and then the water. What sort of, apart from the technical aspects of sport and what a coach does to make you get better at it, what sort of relationship do you have with your coach? Does he also double up as a mentor, as a family friend, because you're spending so much time away from family? And how long has he been working with you?
So the recent coach has been working with me a year.
Right.
But then a coach before was working with me for 3 years, 4 years, and also I have a grand coach who's my mentor in sport, and he has been helping me out with reaching out coaches, and to be able to help me with logistics and of course mental training, because he's such an experienced coach at that time. And so I've been always lucky and to get such lovely people in my journey, and then they've always pushed me. So definitely when I'm spending so much time, they become a part of my family, and it's just a big family, European family. They make me meet their kids, wives and parents, and let me in their house, So it's the same likewise here. When they come here, they just stay in our place. We always appreciated that. It's a work family, as we call it. At the same time, they're mostly my uncle and grandfathers, So they're my European grandfather and uncle.
Fantastic. Moha promotes confidence through its range of products. We have here Vishnu, who is confident is an understatement. He's tried his hands at every sport under the sun, and I think a very fed up father eventually went up to him and said, now Vishnu, this is where I feel you're going to be fantastic. And fantastic is an understatement, because Vishnu is our national champion, current national champion, and has been winning the title for a decade and a half. So Vishnu, there are, every athlete, they have one eventual long-term goal. You've talked about winning a gold medal at the Olympics. I do not think it gets bigger than that.
My biggest goal, like Olympic medal is okay, like it's an Olympic medal, nothing else, it's just a piece of metal. But at the same time, I want to leave a legacy. Like the whole goal for me going to that Olympic medal is to make that sport a bigger range, in India.
Yes.
So our nation is known for sports rather than business, entrepreneurship, or everything else that we're known for. Spices. Everybody loves curry. So so sports is a nice way to show ourselves outside as well. So that's my bigger goal, to leave a legacy. Like that's the.
Vishnu can do it, so can I.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of what you're saying is advice for younger generation, but if you have to maybe say one thing that you feel will really resonate with young kids tuning in today who may not have even gone out onto the water once, but are thinking about this because they watched you and really heard about your so much love for what you do, what would it be? What advice would you give them?
Oh, believe in yourself. Like that's the most important lesson I learned, and I'm still learning. So believing in yourself, and don't limit yourself. We often tend to limit ourselves, like, okay, we can only achieve, in my case, let's say Olympic medal. Why not 2? Why not 3? Why not 4? So try not to limit yourself in what you're doing. So, and practice, train hard as you can. Do something that you love, and if you love something that you do, just keep doing it. Like keep at it.
You want the sport to grow in India. What do you feel needs to be done to bring more eyeballs to the sport and to just generally bring more awareness to it?
Definitely, like broadcasting, that's important. But then the most important in ground level is to bring the sport at least to the coastal schools where like they have easy access to any water body like sea or a lake even, so where they can learn how to sail, a sailing school, so just like us getting to know about football when we were kids, like we didn't know what football was, so somebody taught us what football is. Just like that, we can explain, we can have a day for sailing or a class for sailing. So something like that would be quite amazing, quite change in the whole culture of that. And then it's not really hard to invest in this as well. Like once you invest, let's say in 8 boats or 9 boats, it can last up to 10 years. And from 10 years, you can teach around 3,000, 4,000 kids easy, no problem. And so it's nothing compared to, we say like sailing is expensive. It is if you think it is, it's an investment in a long
It's more like
period.
a one-time investment that
exactly.
lasts you a decade. This is from the point of view of a sailing school.
Yes, exactly.
So you mentioned that your sister is also a competitive sailor. I'm sure she's very good. So it's quite a unique equation you have where you have your siblings in the same sport. So what's your equation like with her?
When we were younger, we used to fight a lot, as every siblings do. So, so it was very good dynamic. Recently, we've been very close to each other because we know we are mature enough to not fight, and also I'm much stronger. So she doesn't want to fight with me. Bigger hands don't help, So, so she's much smarter these days, and she's much smarter than me. So in general. And so she's doing a boat called Nacra 17, which is a foiling boat. It's the fastest in Olympic. It was the fastest in Tokyo Olympics. Right now, it's kite surfing is the fastest, which goes up to 100 kilometers an hour.
Wow.
So on water, which feels like 200 on land. So it's actually crazy how fast they go. So, and I'm also very proud of her achievements. And she always missed the Olympics and Asian Games medal just by like few points and few things. So I think she has much more kind of a motivation than me, and she's always more motivated than me because everybody thinks she's actually living in my shadows. It's not true because if I didn't if she's not there for me, I don't think I would have performed as what I've done because we both help each other. Believe it or not, like we do fight, but we also help quite a lot to grow, and I've helped her quite a lot, and she's helped me in many ways. Like I'm very bad at paperwork, so she helps me that way, and also she helps me to become a better person in general. And just those things are quite important and memorable for me to support her and just to be a part of
Do
that.
you train together or do you train at separate times?
Separate, same times, but just separate boats. Hers is a rocket ship,
It's
and mine
different.
is just a Maruti Suzuki. So, it's just different.
But you are still exchanging notes on
Yes,
and
yeah.
experiences.
Overall sport, the tactics would be similar.
Okay.
The technical things would be more different. Like she's driving an F1 car, which
Sure.
is way more delicate than me. My Maruti,
can
So my
race it around.
So 800 is like my boat is more like everybody is almost having the same speed. It's more like chess on water.
Okay.
I've said this, and for her it's more like tuning everything, and everything is like a kilometer faster. So it has to be perfect. You can't even touch a boat because then it leaves an imprint, and then it's because they always polish everything, and
It's literally like an F1 car.
yeah, literally, like you can't do. It's so sensitive, and when I go near her boat, she's always very stressed because I'm like going like this, lanky, and just trying to sit. She has a nice trampoline. The boat is a catamaran, which is basically two hulls and a trampoline on
Right,
top.
right.
So I always mess around trying to sit on the trampoline.
So this is the fighting part of your
Yes,
equation.
goofy part. Yeah.
But it must be nice to have somebody in
Yes.
such close proximity who's also going through the ups
Yeah.
and downs that you have. Is she older or younger?
She's younger than me.
And did
Yeah.
she take up the sport after you? or
Same time.
Around the same time?
Yeah, we took up the sport same time. I learned it much quicker. She learned a year or two later. Performed. We learned quicker.
So Vishnu, you had the opportunity of training with Irishman Trevor Miller at Sailboat Academy in Malta during 2020, during COVID. So tell us a little bit about that experience and what it was like.
Before COVID, we were in Abu Dhabi for the Asian Championship. That was the qualification for Tokyo Olympics. So February, I celebrated my birthday, 24th February, and then 2 days later, COVID happened in Abu Dhabi, and then we were just about to launch our boats for a training session. The official came there and he said, no, you're not allowed to launch, you're not allowed to sail, you have to book the flight back home as soon as possible and leave the country. And then we just left our boats and everything there in Abu Dhabi in that heat, and I decided to fly to Malta because I know if I fly to India, I won't be able to train as much. So if I'm able to train, I'll not leave India, and if there's lockdown or whatever. So somehow it ended up in a good decision going to Malta because it's a small island below Italy, and there was not much restrictions, and we were doing non-contact sport. So I was able to train every day. So I did train every day, and that was like one of the best trainings I've ever had because there was no airplanes, no like ships on water, no ferries. So there was zero pollution. So the wind was good every day.
You talked about conditions sometimes being so harsh, in cold weather. You also possibly are running the risk of overtraining and then getting injured.
Yeah.
If you were to go up and tell your coach, even in today's times, I think to Indian coaches also across sport, that I have a shoulder injury or I have a back injury, you're given more attention than if you go up to a coach and tell him that there's something playing on my mind, I have anxiety from my sport, I am unable to cope with the situation, I need time off.
Yeah.
Yes, there are academies and coaches that do understand this and give it as much weightage as a physical issue, but then there aren't also.
Yeah.
So coming to your mental health journey, your relationship with it, how has it been over, say, the last 8 years through? Let's look at just the 2 Olympics that you've been through. What's been your growth through it and your experiences from it?
There are few times where you doubt yourself, like what you're doing, and is it really going to take you to that level? But then luckily I've had people who have always been like, I always use this, like Like there's so many nice people around me who are always trying to help me and support me in many ways. So that helped me to grow. And mentally, sport is nothing, to be honest. The real pressure is when I've seen an interview where Virat Kohli says, the real pressure is where they put they're looking for the next meal. The guys, that's the real pressure, where they can't even find the next meal. So I think that's the real pressure. When you look at it in a bigger picture, I think when I think about pressure, I look at it in a bigger picture. This is nothing. This is no pressure. And also pressure is a privilege. That means, Billie Jean King says, like pressure is a privilege. That means like you're looked for. There is expectations that you can deliver. So that means like they want you to deliver at the same time.
They believe you are in a position to find that success.
Yeah, exactly. So if you look at in a positive way, then everything is different. Of course, there are two branches in a tree. So like if you look at it in a negative way, then everything kind of stumbles down. But I'm always kind of a positive guy. No matter what life throws at me, I kind of take a moment and just recuperate and then go back at it again. So I think that kind of helped me grow. I say grow, and there's a lot, but that's the fact. Every day, just to become a better person and better version of yourself is very important than sport itself, because what I learned from sport is what I'm using in life, and there's nothing much different. And also I'm sure what you learned in sport is what you're doing in business or in life. So we all learn in some ways. So I'm lucky that I've learned it in a very young age, and I'm able to execute, or even learning never stops. We all know that.
Learning never stops. Yeah. I think these are the reasons, the way you think is reasons for being who you are and you actually are. And one of those reasons is, or rather one of the manifestations of being who you are is something that I know you've brought in to our studio to show us and talk about. So I want you to throw light on your India jersey and what it means to you. I can see the Olympic rings and Paris; those are your colors. But just tell me a little bit about why this is so special.
So this is basically what I wear before the race.
Right.
The life jacket that I wear.
Right.
Life jacket is basically so I don't drown.
Correct.
So this is what I wear above the life jacket.
Okay.
And that's where the tracker goes.
Okay.
So it tracks you what your position is and what you're doing, basically, to show the viewers. And it represents IND, which is India.
Yes.
And then the Olympic ring, and this is the logo for sailing. Paris 2024.
This is your tattoo if you don't have one.
No, I don't have a tattoo.
So I have certain memorabilia in my room that remind me of who I am on terrible days. I'm sure you go to your Olympic
Exactly. Like sometimes we forget what we have achieved and what we've done. So and then we just beat ourselves. No, we're so bad. We can't even do this. So, but we have to remind ourselves like we have already done this so many times. Why can't we do it one more time? So that's the kind of motivation there is all the time. It's really hard to bring back that moments, but at the same time, it has to be in your core memory that you can just pick it up and then display it.
So Vishnu, I have with me your bronze medal from the Asian Games 2022. While I'm sure you believed you were good enough to win gold, and there was a sense of it was bittersweet with some disappointment and also a lot of pride that you actually got this. It's 2022, it's 2 years before leading up to the Paris Olympics. So what does something like this do for you in terms of confidence going into the Olympics?
It was a long dream to win an Asian Games medal, even though it's a bronze medal, it's a medal. For sure, it has great value. And I've worked so hard and it feels like it's nothing at the same time, but the weight of it is the hard work. So 2023 was when Asian Games was held, even though the medal says 2022. Because of COVID they had to postpone, and it was tough time, because for me it's always nice. I mean, if you look at it in a way that you get more time to train and you get to sharpen your skills. So I took that time because Asia has a pretty good and strong competitive sailors from Singapore, from Korea, who's been to 5 Olympics.
Okay.
So it wasn't an easy task to get a medal, and I was in the mode of when you tell yourself like I'm gonna kill it. So I was like in that mode, and it kind of helped me to perform in a very high level, and then just to keep that focus and go for it at all times. So that's the kind of medal, and I was lucky that I shared this medal with Ramya. Ramya was there in Asian Games China. This is the first time myself and Ramya, we both went to Asian Games. So it was quite nice that we got to spend quality time with the medal.
Fantastic. And I'd like to rewind a little to another very special plaque that you brought into the studio. It says 2019 Laser Standard Men Under 21 World Championships. You're third in the world, basically, in this tournament. Tell us a little bit about it.
So this plaque is very special because you don't get this plaque if you you only get it if you win in the World Championships. So this blue plaque. So this is the only World Championship medal I have, and the only in the sense this is the only in India in sailing we have, and it's a special trophy because in under 21s the year before I finished in 57th place, and I improved so much in just less than a year.
Yes.
And I finished third. Like I didn't even expect to win a medal. I won European bronze and World Championship bronze at the same year, and that year nobody else did. So it was quite good. Many people say I was lucky, so that's why I did it twice. So one of the Finnish sailor, he actually betted on me, like if you win another medal in the World Championship, I'll quit sailing. He actually did quit sailing after that. So yeah, it's something funny, but at the same time, these little things, these are my core memory that I remember.
If you had to pick out one moment from your sporting career, and it doesn't even have to be a win, because you have many wins, it could also just be one moment where you felt absolute joy. What?
It is a winning moment at the end of the day. So that's what I remember. So when I crossed the finishing line in Oman qualifying, and I saw Ramya, she was on water, she was sailing at that time, she had the race next, and so she was crying. Not only her, everybody else that I looked, they were crying, and I was trying to cry, but I couldn't cry for some reason. So everybody was crying because it was the first qualification for Army as well. Army has been a very significant support to me. Army Yachting Node, that's where I grew up sailing. So all the Army guys who've dreamt about going to the Olympics, they've lived to see me and myself, and they've actually, through me, they're living their dream. So it's quite nice to see that, and it was quite emotional for me. But I just couldn't cry. I wanted to cry, but at the same time, it was a nice moment in general.
You're in a sport that visually looks relaxing, but it is so intense. I learned today that your sister's boat, for example, is moving at 100 kilometers an hour. You're out in conditions that are not easy. Apart from the wind, you've got crocodiles and you've got sharks, attacking you, or the risk of attacking you. But you're out in the heat. You're out in the heat a lot. We talked about mental health, and I would like to know what is your connection between your mental health and things you do, for example, for your skin, or things you do to keep your body. You mentioned you want to live a life beyond it's just sailing. What do you do to de-stress for your skin when you're out in the heat so much?
I was used to not applying sunscreen, but recently I have been, because I've been pushed into by my family and my friends, because these days they say you're gonna get skin cancer. I said I'm Indian, like I'm not gonna get skin cancer. I have enough melatonin in my skin. Anyway, so they say to use it, and then just to keep them happy, I do. Sometimes I do like it, I'm not gonna lie.
So Vishnu, we are moving on now to the super fun part of our show. We've got rapid fire questions brought to you by Moha Sunscreen. Very quick answers. Okay, be candid and do not fear. You don't fear, so do not. Who is your sports goat?
Ooh, Kobe Bryant.
Okay, favorite athlete you met at the Olympics?
LeBron James.
And if you weren't an athlete, what do you think you'd be?
Teacher.
And if you weren't a sailing champion, what other sport would you think you'd choose?
Every other sport I've done. Probably tennis.
Favorite sports movie?
Favorite movie, Bag Milka Bag.
Who inspires you the most?
My dad.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Ooh. This is messy.
What do you do on your day off?
Sleep.
Okay, so Vishnu, you just let us all know that you're only recently, starting to use sunscreen, but you must remember that you're so analytical and you plan so much. You are practicing a lot in Mumbai. You're living in Bombay, so you do need sunscreen and a lot of it. So from the brand and all of us, as a thank you, we'd like to, give you a little hamper, which does include, yes, and you guessed it right.
Thank you.
Some, sunscreen and a bunch of other stuff.
Thank you.
Once again, thank you so much for
It's nice. Thank you
coming.
to
You are our double Olympian, you are our national champion 15 times over. And in spite of all the achievements that you already have under your belt, you want more. And what's most beautiful to see is even though you want more, you are okay if it doesn't happen. And you're okay if it doesn't happen because of your perspective on life. That goes above and beyond just medal that we all work, I think, incredibly hard for as athletes, to achieve. And I think that's what sets you apart. So I have had the good fortune of interacting with the world's best athletes at one Olympics, not two, at Asian Games, multiple Commonwealth Games. And I'm so proud to say that today not only have I interacted with you, but I've also got to know you so well. And you are truly one of the world's best athletes, not only for the medals and trophies on your stand, but for who you are as a person. So first, congratulations to your parents, and then to you. I truly hope that once you come back with that elusive medal from the next Olympics, you will sit down again and talk to us about the experience. And I don't hope, but I know that when you do, you will be the same Vishnu that we knew 4 years ago. So congratulations, and I wish you the best with everything.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Back in 1999, on my first day of swim practice in Bangalore, I clearly remember my coach wearing a Nike t-shirt that read, "Power is nothing without control." When I look back on those days, I realized and remember that when I trained, I was most effective as an athlete when I learned the ability to have controlled aggression. Our gentle giant, if I may call him that, Vishnu Saravanan, has been so fantastic with all his lessons that he has learned from a lifetime in sport. Everybody that tunes in today, yes, you will see the medals, the accolades, the trophies, and all his high hopes of not being once, twice, but a triple Olympian, and someday hopefully bringing in a gold medal for his country. But what I'd urge you to see is, even though he stands so tall, his feet are firmly planted on the ground. There is grace, there is confidence, and there is self-belief. Self-belief that comes from hard work, persistence, and a never say die attitude. And for parents that also watch, remember that you can love your kid irrespective of how good he is at his sport. And if you support him, there's always a better chance of him being the best. Thank you.